When I was a junior officer on a submarine in the US Navy, I had a hard time understanding why we spent all this money operating the submarine force. And one day I got the opportunity to ask someone whose opinion I valued that exact question. And at the time I didn't understand the answer they gave me, but I do now. This would have been back in the early 2000s when I was a junior officer operating submarines. I was in the Navy for about 7 years, and we were on mission doing submarine stuff. I can't really get into the details, but we were very fortunate to have what the submarine force affectionately refers to as a spook on board. These are US Navy submarine experts. And this was a 30-year Master Chief. So he had been in the Navy for 30 years, attained the highest enlisted rank in the Navy until you become the Master Chief of the Navy, which means he started his career in the 70s, during the golden age of the nuclear submarine during the Cold War. And he was talking similarly to me in that we were on mission doing submarine stuff, but there were other assets in the area that were largely doing the same thing we were doing. And the question was, why are we spending all this money and why are 100 plus of us out here away from our families doing this job that these other things are doing the same thing? And so I asked him, what's up with this, Master Chief? And he said, the reason we still operate nuclear submarines is because if we ever stop, we will never do it again. Now, this seemed like a terrible answer to me in my 20s. Why stop something if the only reason is because then we'll be done doing it? But he continued to explain that the cost of starting a submarine program is so outrageous, which I'll talk to in a minute, that if we stop and we find in the future that we need nuclear submarines, that we will never be able to get back into it. And I think I didn't understand this answer when I was 20 because I think like many young people, even though I knew the world had changed all the way up until when I became an adult, I had this perception that this is how the world is and this is how it's always going to be. And now, 40 years later, I'm in my mid-40s, I've seen that the world has changed dramatically, and now we are back in effectively another Cold War with Russia and China, who both operate nuclear submarines. And the only real counter for those is other submarines. And thus, we need submarines right now. And the cost in terms of starting a submarine program is probably something that someone who doesn't understand submarines wouldn't really be able to conceptualize. They are not like surface ships. Sometimes they are described more like spaceships, really. You cannot simply go to a shipyard that builds surface ships and ask them to build a submarine. If we had stopped repairing, building submarines, we would no longer have shipyards that were even capable of it. We would have to go to another country that did it and get them to teach us how to build submarines. Then you're talking about not just a decade of design work on this new submarine. Even if we could buy an off-the-shelf one from another country, we wouldn't be able to repair it other than in their shipyards, but it would take decades to get the institutional knowledge about operating submarines. You cannot simply take surface ship operators and make them submariners. It's a totally different world. Who would be the captain? All of these questions would come up in terms of having expertise around it. So, I could not even take a stab at a dollar figure, but you're probably talking about a 30-year process from going from no submarine force to a proficient, cutting-edge technology type submarine force. And even only then if you bought your submarine from another country. If you're talking about designing in-house, add another couple of decades to that. So, and this kind of goes similar to a question that my assistant asked me recently along the same line, which is, why is it such a big deal that Australia is buying our submarines? She had seen it in the news a lot. And I said, it's not such a big deal that Australia, who's buying our submarines now, has substantially better submarines because the Virginia class that they're buying is a very capable platform. But that the more submarines we can build, even if we have to sell them to our allies, is more of maintaining that proficiency specifically with the shipyards. Because shipyards that can build and repair submarines are few and far between. And the few ones that still exist, we have to support with giving them work so that they can maintain their proficiency in building and operating and repairing submarines. I just thought I'd put this little video out here, kind of story time around Veterans Day. Many of my viewers probably don't realize my background in the submarine force. If you like my videos, I'll share another one here. Stick around the channel for similar content, and I will talk to you soon.